Football. I am your new host at Hot BFF with two B's, no longer just to fill in. We are here today to talk about some free agents. So this episode is going to be all the free agency news you can fit to dish, where people signed, our take on where people signed. There are a ton of people released, a lot going on in the league today. So this is almost just a full news episode, if you will. Before we get started, though, some housekeeping items. I am joined by Dan Thury across the table from me at Thury BFF. How are you today?
I am fantastic. I'm probably not as hungover as you guys because I only had 2 beers yesterday.
You're really not that hungover, honestly.
You guys sound good.
Yeah, we kind of
Don't sound
stopped, basically.
I had my hangover at about 7 p.m. last night.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We ordered Nancy's. I got some fettuccine Alfredo on my stomach, lots of carbs. Dropped off the hotel about 7:30, drank a Powerade, and that was good. I laid in bed and watched Forensic Files for the rest of the night.
Yeah, I came home, took some ibuprofen, drank Gatorade, ordered some Domino's pasta bread bowl, and watched Umbrella Academy.
There you go.
I like that show.
It's
Slow to start.
It's okay through 4 episodes. I want to get further in.
It really picks up towards the end, though.
Yeah. Also joined by the smooth voice of to my right, Nick Sparts. Nick Sparts, how you doing? At
Nick Sparts, I am being optioned to Springfield AAA after this episode.
he is.
For what? For injury?
Designated for assignment.
Designated
Yep.
for
He's being DFA'd.
I am being exposed to waivers, so we'll see what happens.
The baseball jokes are because I'll be starting a fantasy baseball draft in the middle of this episode, so this might end up inadvertently being a little bit of a crossover. As Nick mentioned, he is leaving us. This is his last show with us. He decided to focus on becoming a better human being, so he's going to go travel the wilderness in Alaska for a while.
Yep. Look out for the Sean Bean made the movie where he dies in the Alaskan wilderness coming in 2025.
Is Sean Bean playing you?
Yes, and he's going to die in the Alaska wilderness.
Spoilers.
Spoiler. Damn it, Nick.
Spoilers. You can follow the show on social media at BeerfieldFF. That's Instagram, Twitter, Untapped. Beerfield Fantasy Football on YouTube and Facebook. Be sure to drop us some comments on the old YouTube. Dan and I will try to remember that we're supposed to be watching that now and respond.
I have it.
You can also support the show by buying merch. Do we have hats available still?
You do.
Oh, we have hats available.
One left,
still.
right?
We have one left after this, I believe.
We've got T-shirts available. Nick is modeling the aqua color. I am modeling the red underneath my Under Armour hoodie right there. You can get that by emailing us at beerfieldfantasyfootball@gmail.com.
Just Beerfield Fantasy.
Beerfieldfantasy@gmail.com. That's what I said. I just added an extra word. And DMing the show. Also, hit us up on Patreon if you'd like to donate there. We have a Patreon. I thought it said Patron at first, but
we also have Patron.
We do have Patron also. Also, you can check me out on the Loaded Box podcast. I did a very, very impromptu show with them on, I believe it was Thursday night, so be sure to check out their latest episode where I hijack it in the middle of it, beat Ben at a game of trivia that came down to a tiebreaker of state capitals, and we generally just go off the rails.
What state capital did you remember?
Well, Ben got asked what the state capital of Illinois was, which is, I had said earlier in the show, and he said Champaign. So I ended up beating him on what is the state capital of Washington.
All right.
Olympia, for wondering minds. Let's get into
where my dad was born.
Let's do a beer preview, and can I actually have a beer? Is that allowed on this show? All right, cool. Beer preview. And on today's show, we have Founders Kentucky Breakfast Stout. It is a flavored stout that I believe is chocolate coffee and aged in bourbon barrels. I don't believe we've had KBS on the show before, even though we've all, I think, had this like the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
I usually get it on tap. This is the first time I think I've ever had KBS specifically out of a bottle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've had it on tap and out of a bottle. Founders typically does good barrel-aged stuff. It is a barrel-aged stout. I'm not sure what the alcohol percentage on it because I didn't actually make notes on this beer. It's their
13. Is it 14%? 13%, I think, is what it is.
12.2.
I was off.
12.2%, as I'm completely not prepared for this episode and this hosting
Which
shit.
12.2 obviously not high enough,
Right.
especially when I have to go work on more homework after this episode.
Yep. It was bottled 226, so relatively fresh. This one has not been cellared, so we will give you a full review in the middle of the show. Let's get into some non-free agent news.
News.
Sorry, I had it minimized, which slowed me down for a split second.
All good. You know, at your last show, I just feel like this one should have as many hiccups as we've had throughout the first 2 years of you doing this.
I mean, it's technically end of season 2 as well, so
Yep.
end of season 1 was a total shit show, so this should probably match.
This should absolutely be the same.
Obviously should matter.
All right. Starting out with Tyreek Hill. He is being investigated for domestic battery after an incident resulting in a broken arm for his son, which I spelled like the thing in the sky, not like his offspring.
If he somehow breaks the
Whoops.
son's arm, I'm really impressed.
No charges have been filed yet, but I'm pretty sure this is the kid of the woman he choked.
And this
college.
was the child that she was pregnant with
When
when
he
he
choked
choked
her.
said woman.
Yep. So we've come full circle. Still pretty early to me to really decide how this is going to unfold or think what the NFL is going to do in this situation. I would think minimum 4, but we'll have to see.
Oh, I think it's minimum 6 if there's anything to this.
Especially if there's like any video evidence, they may treat this like the Kareem Hunt situation and shut this shit down.
100%, as far as I know, there is going to be no shot of a video on this one. So,
Yep.
More
that-
pictures, nothing.
but you may end up with like medical reports or things like that, which could crank the heat up on this.
It's going to be he said, she said, police reports. Who knows? I know that the NFL does act more harshly when there's video evidence, as they've proven.
Yeah, they go from kind of casual about this shit to real intense in a hurry as soon as the public sees a video.
Yep.
Which I think is not a great look for the league, but that's how they're operating.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And I don't think this ends the way it did with Kareem Hunt. I don't think the Chiefs released Tyreek Hill.
The
But-
one thing that may point to them doing it is just due to the fact that he did have a previous incident in college that he did get plead guilty in court for.
Yep.
So that kind of holds against him. The one good news, if you're a Chiefs fan on this one, because this is all around horrible, at least you didn't sign him to the highest paid wide receiver deal like they were talking about doing 3 weeks ago before this happened.
Yep. You know, he probably screwed himself out of that one. But yeah, there's still much more to come on this one, though, as this unfolds. I would not expect anything probably until, training camp, probably?
This will be boiling under the surface, my guess is, for the next couple months. The big
the
thing that
earliest.
could accelerate this is if there is charges filed by the police.
Yep, and to this point, there hasn't been. Moving on to the aforementioned Kareem Hunt, he's been suspended 8 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. This is in relation to the incident that happened at the end of last season.
And he's not appealing it. He's going to serve the full suspension.
So it's kind of weird to take a victory lap, but hey, we were right on this one. It was going to be 8 games.
We absolutely were right on this one. It gives. So I talked about this a bit on Loaded Box. I want your guys' opinion. What value does Kareem Hunt have in redraft this year?
In redraft, I don't want him before maybe the 10th or 12th round.
I
'cause,
think he's a stash, but it's one of those things where it's.
I mean, he's really talented. He should be on a good team, but he's going to be behind Nick Chubb, and you only get him for 3 games
He
before
also
the
has
playoffs
to
start.
learn the entire offense. He has to get back up to game speed, and depending on how Duke Johnson's playing, which is going to be effectively the same role.
If Johnson's even on the team.
If Johnson's on the team, yes. It just depends where he comes from. You're holding him for 8 weeks. If you have
9,
a lot of
most likely
or
the
9
buys
weeks,
before that, too.
Yeah, so you're holding him for half the season at least.
Yep. And that's exactly where I said I would draft him, and what I would do also is that it gives you another piece to maybe supplement some injuries or whatever after the after he's off suspension, but he's going to be firmly behind Nick Chubb as a runner. The best you can hope for is an Ingram Kamara type of scenario, but I don't see it being that, especially since they have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham now also. So
Yeah, the other concern, too, is he's not able to be with the team from week 1 until his suspension's up. So if the bye week's in there, that means he has 9 weeks where he has to keep his head clear, stay out of trouble, and keep himself in football shape away from the team.
I will say this right now. I will not be owning any Kareem Hunt in draft. I will not be drafting him because most likely, if if that person's team gets hurt, who's one of your first cuts? Going to be a guy who can't play until likely week 9, week 10.
Unless your league has the suspended spot allows for IR designation, that would probably be the only place I want to own him.
Yep. No, I did make the point that kind of what you'd said, Dan, that at the end of their draft, if you can tell me that you're going to give me a guy that is likely going to contribute the last 3 weeks before the playoffs and throughout the playoffs, and I can take them in the late rounds, or I can take a flyer on a guy who may or may not be something, I'm more likely to take the guy that's guaranteed to contribute or could at least be a trade chip for me around that point in time. But I do think it is towards the end of the draft pick.
Yeah.
Yo, definitely.
One place I may actually be able to own him is in more of an expert league where everyone's going to be like, who takes him? In any sort of casual league, his name's going to be too valuable.
There's always one person that'll take the chance on him and sit, but I just see him getting cut on most rosters because
it'd have to be a pretty deep roster.
It's got to be a deep roster for me to want to take a flyer on him.
Yep, I agree with that completely. All right, moving on from Kareem Hunt to some Vikings news. They declined Andrew Sendejo's 2019 option, saving them $5.5 million. Also released right guard Mike Rimmer, saving them $4.55 million. So upgrade at guard, downgraded the secondary.
Doesn't really affect the secondary because Anthony Harris came in last year after Sendejo got hurt and was a top 10 safety per PFF. So Harris was going to start over Sendejo anyway. This was just them trying to clear cap space. It sucks that it hurts the safety depth, but they're just going to have to deal with it. They were up against the wall cap-wise, and Remmers was garbage. So
that offensive line entirely was garbage. Some other things to keep note of. We won't necessarily discuss these at length, but Denver declined linebacker Brandon Marshall's 2019 option, making him a free agent. He was pretty
injured
often, and mostly expendable at that point. Ravens exercised cornerback Brandon Carr's 2019 option, which was worth $4.5 million. So they'll still have him.
It sounds like he'll be the number one there.
No, it'll still be Humphreys.
Oh, Humphrey.
But Carr will be the second outside.
Yep. So their secondary stays mostly intact, except for probably Jimmy Smith. The Cardinals did something that makes us all happy and released tight end Jermaine Gresham.
Unfortunately, it saved them basically nothing to do so. They saved like $1 million cutting him.
Yep.
But before we keep going, we do have our first listener comment in a while.
Oh.
Shout out from Jimmy there. It's been a bit. So what's up, fellas? If Tyreek sits out 8+ weeks, so this is all contingent on what happens with Tyreek, do the Raiders win the AFC West?
No, it's going to be the Chargers if the Chiefs can't keep it together.
Yeah, Chargers are next up. The Raiders still don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, Carr's got to be a bottom 5 starter.
I think the Chiefs are still going to be. Chiefs are still going to be.
And the Chiefs will still be good. We've seen good quarterbacks make wide receivers relevant, and don't forget they have Sammy Watkins
and
still.
A draft
who
ahead of
them
at
number 1 and a draft pick. So we'll see how it unfolds right now. But as of right now, I still think it's Chargers and Chiefs over the Raiders.
All right.
Okay. I forgot where I was.
Chris Harris.
Jermaine Gresham. I had one more thing to say about him.
I'm sorry.
I do think he becomes a viable depth piece someplace in the league, but he hasn't been a dynasty piece for quite some time.
Yeah.
No. So it just opens up.
Yeah. Outside of your 16-team 3 tight end leagues, you don't have to be concerned about this.
Yeah. It opens up
3 tight ends.
It does open up the Cardinals as a landing spot for somebody, though. Especially if you don't believe in
it should have been always, but yes, I agree.
Right.
Noah Fant, number 1.
That'd be interesting. No, I'd probably get a second or third round, though. It opens up the tight end spot, though, for them to bring somebody in. That's the biggest thing to take away there.
Yep.
Broncos exercised cornerback Chris Harris's 2019 option, and then they went out and signed. That's in free agency later down. So never mind that. Spoilers for later, but they did exercise Chris Harris's 2019 option, so he'll stay.
He'll have a new contract here, but probably before the draft as well.
Yeah, I would guess. The Packers tendered exclusive rights free agent Jake Kumaro, who is a preseason darling. They're just continuing to throw things at a wall, hoping something sticks. They also tendered Geronimo Allison at the original round and then re-signed him to a 1-year deal. So the Packers have a bunch of wide receivers that are fighting basically for 2 to 3 spots behind Devontae Adams.
They have 1 wide receiver 1 and a bunch of wide receiver 3s and 4s. They have no wide receiver 2 right now.
The bad part is that Jake Kumaro, especially, and Geronimo Allison just give you more guys that have flashed and not established themselves.
Yeah.
And Geronimo Allison's at least been healthy sans last year and had the chance to break out and do something. Jake Kumaro hasn't been necessarily. He's more closer to in the same boat as ESB and Jamon Moore and MVS.
Yeah. It's going to be them fighting for that 3 spot. It just depends what the Packers do in the draft, or if they decide to bring in a guy like Crabtree, who I don't think has been signed yet.
I do not mind Jake Kumro as a backer roster stash for a rebuilding dynasty team. Though.
No, I don't either.
I would actually prefer him over Geronimo.
Yeah.
Eagles signed left tackle Jason Peters to a 1-year deal on a restructured salary, basically. Doesn't really mean much other than he'll stay there. He continues to play well at the age of 37.
He'll play 12 games.
Right now, the Eagles have to be one of the prime landing spots for a running back draft pick.
Yep. They did also decline guard and center Steven Wisniewski's 2019 option, so he's a free agent. He was more of a depth piece. And then they acquired wide receiver Deshaun Jackson from Tampa Bay in exchange for a 2019 6th-round pick.
It's a good landing spot.
And signed him to a 3-year deal with $27 million for whatever reason.
So
it's going to move Nelson Aguilar back to the slot where he flashed 2 years ago, and it's Mix Jackson, Torrey Smith, Mike Wallace.
And let's Jeffrey do what he does best. He doesn't have to try to run verticals anymore.
Yep, which is good. This is good news for everybody all around. They needed a field stretcher. Deshaun Jackson, again, I don't know that he necessarily has relevance as anything other than a bench guy that you throw out there when you need a
best ball
desperation heave.
I like him in best ball. I like him in best ball.
Which, granted, fuck it, desperation heaves are needed at least a couple times throughout the season. So Deshaun Jackson's probably not going to be a guy we talk about a lot in that role. But as Nick said, it does help Nelson Aguilar a lot also, putting him back into the slot where he should be, and Alshon Jeffrey.
I'll give you that one, Nick.
Cool.
I like Nelson Aguilar. Wait, did Nick not say that?
No, Dan said.
There's my present. There's my going away gift to you.
Yeah, as soon as you said Nick said it, I just threw Dan a look like I didn't say shit.
Oh, well.
That's all good.
You get it.
We get it.
The Patriots assigned one more bout of Eagles news. They assigned a second-round tender to quarterback Nate Sudfeld. So
I don't know why he has not looked good.
He knows the offense. He'll compete for the backup job. They don't have anybody else right now. So
yep.
And Wentz, as we know, needs a backup.
There seems to be a real issue with backup quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Like, there's not a lot of teams where I look at their backup and I'm like, yeah, he's fine.
Because they'll just keep rotating draft picks and hopefully one hits.
No, I looked at that also, to where a lot of teams are going with not with veteran established backup guys, but more younger guys that they're hoping to get something out of, and then flip them when somebody needs a bridge quarterback.
Yeah, there's maybe only about 5 or 10 teams in the league where I'd be like, oh, if their backup comes in, it's not a complete dumpster fire.
Right. The Patriots decided to original round tender to wide receiver Josh Gordon in case he's ever reinstated.
Well, you truthers can hold on to hope, I guess.
Yep. From the feel-good department, the Steelers did the right thing, and Ryan Shazier's contract told, so they're going to keep him. He'll continue to collect insurance and be able to rehab and everything. So
good.
It keeps him on with the team. I think as soon as he's done rehabbing or whenever that happens, they'll move him to a coaching role.
Probably. The Packers released linebacker Nick Perry, who'd been decent for them the last couple of years.
They've just completely redone their linebacking core, and they needed to.
Okay, on to probably the least publicized trade. The Giants acquired Jabril Peppers at a 2019 first, which is number 17 overall, and a third-round pick from Cleveland for wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr.
The third round's in 2020, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
They should have gotten more.
They should have gotten more. It's not a terrible trade, though. I like Peppers, and they needed the safety. So they should have still gotten more, though. And
it should have been more.
In terms of draft compensation, I agree. The important thing here, though, and Ben pointed this out on Thursday's show. Again, I've probably kind of done this episode once already.
He did.
But Odell going to Cleveland, and I back this up completely, I think helps Jarvis Landry also, because he now does not have to be the guy.
I definitely
absolutely.
agree.
Odell's the guy. Jarvis gets to play a complementary role, which is what he was meant to be, and Njoku as well. So now the only outstanding question is Baker Mayfield going to be able to support target volume to a running back, fantasy productivity from 2 wide receivers, and a tight end, because the Browns have the pieces to field an entire fantasy relevant offense. But can Baker Mayfield do that? I think the answer is yes.
The answer is definitely yes, because he loves to spread the football around, and he's an extremely aggressive thrower, which is and their defense is still in work. It's good.
It's better.
It's better than what it was. I mean,
you should have included the other part of this trade, which you dropped off.
What was that?
the guard for defensive end trade as part of this? Because it all ended up being one trade.
What was this?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, same team.
It might be further down, but I didn't lump it up with this one.
Yeah. When it officially went through, it was all actually just one big fucking trade.
I didn't know that. I just went through the Roto World list, so the other one's
It's
on
not.
here.
It's not on there.
Okay.
It was Nate.
It was Vernon for Zeitler.
Yeah.
Zettler.
Zeitler.
Zeitler.
Yeah.
So Giants help their offensive line, and then the Browns get a defensive end to pair with Garrett.
And the Giants
Olivia
needed
Vernon.
the
That's who it
Giants
was.
needed help on the right side of their line too. They fixed the left side. They needed help on the right side.
Yeah.
Olivia Vernon is going to be a rotational piece now, which he should be.
Yes.
So overall, that part worked out for both, especially if they just made it one deal.
So how do we feel Baker after this trade? Because you got to touch a little bit on what this makes Baker in terms of like how do we view him as a dynasty quarterback right now?
Quarterback too.
Is he above Luck now? So it's obviously Mahomes is number one.
Yep.
He
I
might
don't
be
think
my
he
three.
surpasses
I think-
Luck yet for me,
I think Luck's my
but I
two.
think he is in the top 3 now.
I think he's got better weapons around him, which.
I expect Indy to address that during the draft.
Yep. And it also depends on, I guess, how you draft. You can make an argument for both. If I'm drafting a dynasty team that's going to be young and grow into a competitor, which is normally my startup strategy, then I'm all over Baker Mayfield ahead of Andrew Luck, who's a little bit older and doesn't necessarily have the weapons around him to mesh with. But Andrew Luck has obviously shown it already.
They're on par. I mean, it's like
really-
2A, 2B almost at this point. You can't be
it's really
disappointed
close.
with both.
Yeah. And then who would tier 3 be? Would that be when you drop down to like the Rogers Wilson tier?
The guys
Right.
that used to be the number ones that are now not.
Yeah.
Well, if Seattle actually, commits to throwing the football, then Wilson would be likely back in that top 3. But,
Mhm.
that won't happen. Thanks, Seattle.
I agree.
Anyways.
Anyway, the 49ers helped their defense. They acquired linebacker D. Ford from Kansas City in exchange for a 2020 second-round pick,
And then gave him a fuck ton of money.
and then gave him a lot of money. So they now have some form of a pass rush. They did more to help their linebacker core, which we'll get to here in a little bit.
Yep. And they moved Solomon Thomas to defensive tackle, right?
Yeah, I think so. So they've done a lot to help their pass rush throughout free agency, which is something to more be aware of when teams play them. Obviously, that's more of a week 1 through 3 thing before we really figure out what teams are.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because they can do a lot of things on paper and it never meshes.
yep.
See, Philadelphia Eagles like 10 years ago.
Right.
Oh, Dream Team?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jets released running back Isaiah Crowell.
Makes sense.
We'll get to why in a moment.
Yeah.
Is it should have. Kansas City released free safety Eric Berry.
They were spending way too much money on their secondary with a move they made, so they needed
Yeah.
to free up some cap space.
I'm gonna watch to see where he lands because if he remains healthy, he's a top
flight
5 safety.
Yep.
All pro.
Dolphins released guard Josh Sitton. He played, I think, 1 game for them, was good with the Bears. I'd like to see Sitton go to the Rams, I think, to replace some of the offensive line pieces they lost. Go try to get a ring.
I like to see him in Minnesota for obvious selfish reasons, but
Yeah, he still may retire though.
he may too.
He could.
He's been banged
If
up
he
a
goes to
lot.
Minnesota, he's checked off 3 of the 4 teams in the NFC North. New Orleans opted for cap purgatory next season by restructuring Drew Brees' contract. Essentially makes him worth a hit of $21.3 million next year, but takes some of it off of this season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they roll with Teddy next year or what their long-term plan is, but
Just kicking the can down the street on the salary cap thing. Eventually, they're going to have to blow it up.
yeah, so I believe next year is the last year of the collective bargaining agreement. 2021 would be possibly when there's a lockout or strike if the new one doesn't come through. Is that correct?
I believe.
I haven't looked at that,
So-
so I'm not gonna say yes or no. on
I
that
believe
one.
you're right.
Okay.
They may
I'm
be
just gonna
hoping that the
agree
new
with you.
CBA helps the cap situation.
Yep.
Yeah, you're usually right on these things. So I'm gonna do gamblers and just bet that you're right.
Another series of releases, and just speak up if you think there's a landing spot that makes sense. Raiders released A.J. McCarron.
Nope.
They released Jordy Nelson.
Okay, like I like the moves they made at wide receiver actually. So
Yeah.
I do too. And releasing Jordy Nelson they never should have gotten Jordy Nelson in the
No.
first place. So releasing him was right. Jordy, does he still have value if he catches on someplace?
unless he
He's
goes to
gotta-
Green Bay, I don't care.
He's got to go on to a prolific. Well, like even Green Bay, it's a new offense there too. I mean, I know it's still Rodgers, but he He's got to land somewhere.
He needs somebody to have hungry eyes for him, or I don't care. Which
Yeah.
it has to be Greenback.
That's the answer.
Yep. Carolina released tackle Matt Khalil.
Good. He's terrible.
That's in here literally just for you guys to call him terrible.
Yep. Thank you.
Raiders released offensive tackle Donald Penn, who
Interesting.
says yeah, it was interesting. It was a cap clearing move for a guy that moved from left tackle to right tackle last year, but is a very, very solid piece that could help out a team that needs offensive line help, and there are plenty of them.
He's going to upgrade a lot of teams at some place.
I do like that. The Raiders, actually, I kind of liked a good chunk of the moves they've actually made this offseason. I agree with way more they've done this offseason than they did last offseason.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. And again, cap move, but they're trying to get younger, as they definitely should be doing. So, Saints center Max Unger retired at 32 years old.
This hurts.
That hurts a lot.
This does hurt a lot because he's a very, very good center, which is important for both the running game and the passing game. And New Orleans' running game has been basically tops in the league the last 2 years.
I believe the stat I saw was since 2011, they've either been number 1 or number 2 in PPR scoring for the running back position.
Yep. So big shoes to fill. That's just another thing to keep in mind as you're looking at Saints backs, though, is that the offensive linemen, they matter when it comes to that stuff. That's the offensive line is the difference between putting Damian Williams back there and having him run for a bunch of yardage versus, what he was into Miami where there was no offensive line.
Yep. I do expect him to probably address this as a priority, though, in probably the first or second round.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Which they don't have a first-round pick, so in the second round.
That's right.
San Francisco signed running back Raheem Mostert to a 3-year deal after originally tendering him as an RFA. And more on them later where we can really lay into them.
They seem to have a plan for using a
Someone's gonna
lot
get
of running
traded.
backs. I don't know what the plan is, but
Not all of them can be there.
I think someone's going to get traded.
well, they're doing the coach speak thing right now where they're talking about keeping all 4 active on game day, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
I don't think
We
that.
will.
Yeah.
The Titans acquired quarterback Ryan Tannehill and a 2019 6th-round pick from Miami in exchange for a 2020 4th and 2019 7th. Then signed him to a contract worth 1 year and $7 million.
I believe the Dolphins paid the rest of his guaranteed money in the trade as well, so they ended up paying about $8 million on top of this deal.
Yep, just to say leave town.
Yep.
Get the fuck out of here.
But they're obviously going to be. They're probably the number 1 landing spot for a quarterback in this draft right now.
I don't think they're going to draft one. I think they're going to save up. They're going to ride Fitz, and then they're going to take Tua next year. That's the rumor right now.
I think
try to get Tua.
I think that's exactly what they do. I think that they're gonna Ryan Fitzpatrick and Marcus Mariota. It may end up being a quarterback controversy.
No, wait.
You mean Tannehill and
You mean
Mariota?
Tannehill, Mariota?
Tannehill, sorry.
There you go.
You said they're gonna ride Fitz.
Well, Miami. Fitz.
Oh, Miami.
I'm
will.
sorry. We'll get to that move later on. My apologies.
Yeah,
Jumped the gun there.
I wasn't
Spoiler
there
alert.
yet. I was talking about Titans. Yes.
Yes.
Miami has their bridge quarterback to where they can draft somebody, and we've seen it before with guys like Mike Glennon in Chicago, where that deal that they gave Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't mean anything if they go out and draft somebody.
Yeah.
But it gives them a bridge quarterback if they decide to go elsewhere, upgrade other places, things like that. For the Titans, it gives them something I thought they desperately needed, which is a quality backup to Marcus Mariota, but also a guy that can compete with him, push him, and if Mariota continues to underperform, step in and give them some quality starts.
Yeah, I mean, Tannehill at this point has been more successful in his career than Mariota has up to this point, outside of the one season Mariota had where he broke his leg.
Yeah.
So,
And Tannehill's done it consistently having no offensive lines or weapons.
and just a weird, questionable offensive scheme in general.
Yep.
So I could see Tannehill taking the starting job, and the Titans may have their quarterback of the future, and it may not be Marcus Mariota.
No, I'm right there with you. I could see this being a quarterback controversy. It is something to watch. It was only a 1-year deal, so if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. But if it does, if he pushes him, if Mariota gets hurt again, and Tannehill comes in and performs, that's his job.
Well, and this is kind of getting real into the weeds here, but I really like this move for the Titans for one reason, and it's a 1-year deal that they signed him to. So if he leaves after this season and signs a decent bridge quarterback contract, they may get a 3rd or 4th round comp pick out of it too.
That's the same move. That's the same thing with the Kareem Hunt move that the Browns made. It's the same concept behind that.
Yep. Signing 1-year deals for players is something that a lot of smart GMs should be doing. So I actually like that move a lot for
Especially
this
ones
purpose.
they think that if they move on, will get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Titans released quarterback Blaine Gabbert in a subsequent move, as they should have done.
Yeah, once you have Tannehill, you don't really need Gabbert.
He'll go compete for a backup job someplace or the AAF. And Nick, please.
Sorry, I was not prepared.
Are you okay right now?
This personally hurts me. Jacksonville released quarterback Blake Bortles.
So there's two people who are crying at the moment. It is Christopher Hopper and Jason Mendoza.
And Matt Hicks.
And Matt Hicks.
Shout out top two. He's got a visit with the Rams with Fitzpatrick guarding in Miami. Again, more on that later. That was really the only starting job that was left open, quote unquote. So he'll go back up somebody, and hopefully that eventually pans out. But he will be. You got to think Blake Bortles is going to be sought after from a team that needs a backup as a quality veteran backup.
Baltimore.
Oh, I would love that.
The Rams, I think.
Well, that's where he's just said that. He's visiting
Yeah,
the Rams,
but I think Baltimore needs somebody in case Lamar Jackson can't throw a football, which, spoilers.
San Francisco.
As of right now, we don't believe he can.
And there's also San Francisco, because
They don't need him.
that's a backup to Jimmy G.
They have Mullins.
It's a backup to Jimmy G.
They got Bethard.
It's a backup to Jimmy G.
I mean, considering Mullins is on a dirt cheap contract, there's no way they're going to pay for Bortles,
And
too.
performed, and CJ
I'm
Bethard
just-
has come in and performed. I mean, they got guys that can at least keep them in games with no defense.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't think it's San Francisco.
Fair enough.
Um,
I'm just naming out
Oakland.
backups. Could be Oakland.
Derek Carr's terrible. Okay. Anyway, that's all I've got for non-free agent news, at least technically speaking. Let's get to free agents.
Free agent friendly.
All right, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to mention a name, and if we decide to talk about him, we talk about him. If we don't, say who cares, and we move on.
Perfect. I love this game.
Nick Foles, Jacksonville, 4 years, $88 million. We're starting with quarterbacks, obviously.
We can talk about him.
How the fuck did he get that much money?
Yes, they're signing him to a bridge contract, and then if he makes all of his incentives, this is for $104 million. If he hits everything.
I think some of those incentives include Super Bowl titles, don't they?
I don't know. I mean, he's won one, so
He goes to a spot basically where there's going to be some offensive familiarity, but he really doesn't have a ton of weapons around him. D.D. Westbrook we like. He doesn't have the tight end, the number one receiver that he had in Philly.
nope.
This would be a prime landing spot for either one of the tight ends or one of the top receivers in the draft.
He needs a reliable receiving option that can help him out.
Yep. I've got him in a super flex league, so this is awesome from that perspective, but he's also behind Luck and Ryan in that league. I see very few situations where I'll be starting him over one of those two.
See a
Trade
pretty
bait.
good scenario where I probably trade for him because I currently have no starting quarterbacks.
In said league.
Thank you, Blake Bortles.
But yeah,
And Alex Smith's leg.
he'll be a bottom probably 10 quarterback in redraft rankings heading into 2019.
Yep. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Miami, 2 years, $11 million. Anything else we need to say on him that we haven't said?
I kind of like it for Stills.
I like it for Sills and for Albert Wilson, two guys that he'll take chances on and shots on.
Mike Gesicki?
Don't mind it for that.
I
Though
mean,
he's
he-
never been a huge tight end
He
user.
used O.J. Howard
used
last
O.J.
year.
Howard.
Okay.
But it depends what
He didn't use OJ Howard that much. Howard took a couple passes and would take him for
because
touchdowns.
Howard's a beast, but so is Kaseki from an
Athletic standpoint.
Yeah.
athletic standpoint. If he can, develop more so this year, then maybe.
Not an offensive line. Fitzpatrick just does what he does, though. He goes into places that don't have a quarterback, plays well enough for a few games to earn his next job. Is a bridge quarterback. Then the magic dies. He gets outplayed. He goes back to the bench. They draft somebody, and the world keeps on
I
revolving.
don't think Luke Falk's gonna outperform.
Luke
Ryan.
Falk is not
He's
gonna
number 2 right
outperform him.
now.
No, he won't. I think they could draft somebody.
I think they'll take somebody in the either late day 2 or early day 3 and try to set themselves up for the next 2 years in terms
So-
of quarterback prospects.
About the only real big takeaway from this, besides me kind of liking Stills out of this situation, would be Jen is now going to be just tuned in to watch all the Miami games because she loves Fitzpatrick.
I mean, who doesn't?
Fair.
Who doesn't like
I
Fitzpatrick?
mean, it's something to watch because we've seen him make pieces relevant. I mean, Kenyon Drake becomes a relatively interesting piece. Not that he wasn't before, but I mean, he'll throw to running backs, so it does give them. I wouldn't necessarily call it an upgrade over Tannehill.
More of a deep ball than Tannehill. That's about the only real advantage, though.
Right.
He'll take chances. He will not. He's not a big check down guy, but he will. He will push the football vertically. That is one thing he does.
Plus, he played for. He went to Harvard.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, we gotta get the one Harvard doing that.
All right, Teddy Bridgewater, New Orleans, 1 year, $7.25 million.
One of the only good backup quarterbacks in the league.
I
right
say
now.
in Dynasty go out and try to get him for cheap because I do think that he does take over for New Orleans.
He may
next
be
year.
their starter next year.
Yeah,
I do think that.
you think that's what they want him for? Is to start?
They're
or
paying him
do-
$7.25 million to back up a guy who I don't believe has missed a game in
Miami
years.
tried really hard
to
to get him away from there, but he wanted to stay there. There's got to be some promises involved in that.
Yeah, there is
something.
you're almost certainly the starter next year.
Yeah. So
Because otherwise he would have gone to Miami to start.
I'll go and try to get him in super flex leagues if you need a quarterback, or just for cheap if you can.
Duly noted. Super
Yes.
flex leagues where I need a quarterback. Very real thing.
I'm speaking to you right now, aren't I? Sir?
You are on a spiritual level. Taylor Heineke
Don't
re-signed
care.
with Carolina.
I'm just waiting for him to put his leg through a window again.
Kyle Allen, the backup there, after what he did last year, and
I think Allen is better than Heineke,
I do too.
which is weird because his tape was awful in college.
Ryan Griffin re-signed as the backup in Tampa Bay for 2 years, the quarterback, not the
Which
tight
means
end.
Winston should finally not miss a game this season
I hope.
because Fitzpatrick's
Again.
gone.
Don't care.
I'm invested in Winston, so I hope you're right. Brett Hundley, Arizona, 1 year.
Why?
Don't care.
Tyrod Taylor, Chargers, 2 years. This one was weird.
I do kind of care.
This one's actually kind of interesting because Rivers is very healthy. He is also in his late 30s now. So if anything happened, Taylor could be their bridge quarterback into whoever is coming after Rivers.
It depends what Rivers wants to do after this year.
This is to me as the Chargers saying, look, we got one more window with Phillip Rivers to try to win this thing before it's kind of going to be bad. So if something does happen to him, he does get hurt, we got to make sure that doesn't kill our chances
Yep,
completely.
exactly.
And one of the big things is Lynn is the coach who knows how to use Taylor.
Good all around good takes.
Yep. All right, that's it for quarterbacks. Don't believe I missed anybody worth a damn there. On to the running backs. Le'Veon Bell, New York Jets, 4 years, $52.5 million.
Don't care. I'm just kidding.
Sitting out did so much for him, right?
Yeah, he ended up losing money, although he did get more guaranteed years out of it, I guess. He goes to the Jets, this is a very Jets move. Take a guy that's a really, really good combo back and sign them for a lot of money.
Now,
As the second team, LaDainian Tomlinson, Matt Forte, et al.
see, this
Isaiah
contract
Crowell.
I actually don't hate how much they paid him, considering now they got a weapon for Darnold and they have their quarterback on a rookie deal.
And,
This isn't that bad.
well, and Bell is younger than those guys were when they signed them.
Yeah, those
Yes.
guys were all 30-ish, and
Yeah.
he's 27.
26. I think he'll be 27 when the
He's
season
26.
starts.
Yeah, he's the same age as David Johnson. I know that.
Yeah, he'll be 27 when the season starts. But either way, I like the signing. They needed somebody to run this offense through. I think this is a good landing spot for him. We've seen backs perform. There's no Bilal Powell there to become an issue for him. Crowell was released.
I don't think there's any issue. I think it's his role. It just depends how many touches that he ends up getting. Like he's not seeing 400 touches like he saw his last year that he played with.
He's
Pittsburgh.
not?
I don't think he'll see 400 touches.
I mean, I think they're going to take their investment here and they're going to ride him to just a fine grained sand by the time he hits 30.
Doesn't
He is strictly here as an investment to protect Darnold and help his development. That's what he's here for.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll see 400, but
I don't know that we'll see 400 touches either.
It'll be 350 plus.
I agree with that.
I can see 350 right around that mark. And when I do my projections, because yes, I'm doing projections this year,
Good man.
it'll be right around that point
Yep.
for me.
All right, Mark Ingram, Baltimore, 3 years, $15 million.
I love this move.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell Baltimore pulled this one off, but he is going to be fun in a read option.
He is going to be a lot of fun on a read option. He's a bigger back. We know he can catch passes. He's like a much, much better Gus Edwards.
He's their best running back since Ray Rice.
He
that
is.
He's had in this. The team
I
he's
think
had.
that Mark Ingram with this backfield, what we would assume to himself, we
Yes.
would hope.
As of the moment, he's heads and tails above anybody
I don't
else
see
here.
them bringing anybody else in. Maybe a pass catching back that to try to complement.
I mean, they still have Edwards and Dixon.
And
I think they
he's-
probably just roll with that.
And he's still a decent pass catcher.
Oh no, I'm not saying
Yeah.
he's not. I'm just saying they may bring somebody in for that role
As
because
a change of pace.
yeah,
maybe.
because Gus Edwards got 18 touches a game, 18 carries a game. They didn't pass the ball a bunch of running backs.
I think they'll use Dixon as the pass catcher
if he makes the team,
if he
if
keeps
he
his
stays
nose
on
clean.
the team,
and
Yes.
stays healthy. But either way, I think Le'Veon Bell, or not Le'Veon Bell, Mark Ingram is a very, very interesting kind of tier 2, tier 3 running back. I think he's tier 2 probably.
He's RB2
No,
for me. 'Cause I
he's
don't
tier
think
3.
he'll get the touchdowns
He's,
to propel himself
he's
to an
probably
RB1
tier
status.
3. I
he's
think he's
probably
tier
what,
3.
late second through mid third
Yeah.
going into next year.
I
Yeah,
don't think it'll be that. No, I don't.
he's probably. I think he's.
I'll
solid-
take him there.
I think he's solidly. He's solidly a second round pick. I think is where his ADP lands.
Really? Oh, I'm thinking third because there's a lot of running backs that. It just depends how drafts fall though too.
I mean,
'Cause
as long as he doesn't get
Let's see
suspended
what he is
again.
right now. Let's see what he is right now. You guys keep talking. I'll look.
All
at
right.
it.
All right, Tevin Coleman, San Francisco, 2 years, $10 million. Because why?
Yeah, I have no idea why. Now, I love the contract for San Francisco's aspect. That's awesome. They may just get out of McKinnon here or look to trade him.
If they get out of McKinnon, it makes more sense.
But Breida's done enough where Breida's going to get touches. So if all three stay, it just tanks all three of their values.
It does. Tevin Coleman with Kyle Shanahan normally would be a good thing if it weren't for the fact that you have 3 people that require touches. You just gave Raheem Mostert a 3-year deal. And Jeff Wilson's still there, who looked good in pinch hit duty also.
I think Wilson probably gets they try to move him to the practice squad and he probably gets poached.
Oh, yeah, if they try to move him, he does get poached. So this is a backfield where there are way too many bodies now.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. If anyone was a Coleman owner and you were so psyched for his value to just spike here this offseason after he got signed somewhere, it did not work out how you were hoping.
Also, our apologies, but we did kind of warn you when his peripherals tanked a little bit that he probably lost himself some money and some opportunity, and it turns out he did.
Yeah, it is only a 2-year deal. I think he's hoping that getting back with Shanahan spikes his value back up again. So if you have him at this point, you're just holding.
Yep. Frank Gore, Buffalo, 1 year, $2 million. Because why?
He's doing the reverse snowbird thing and deciding to go actually hide out in the snow for his retirement. McCoy misses snaps or gets hurt or gets taken out on goal line duty, so Gore's going to have value.
No, I agree with that. Gore's going to be their goal line back that pitches off anybody that decides to own LaShawn McCoy this year. But again, why? But this is not a team. Well, they did some upgrades to the offensive line. We'll get to those in a little bit. Their offensive line has almost completely been reworked through free agency, which is good because it was really bad last year.
And I expect they continue to address it during the draft because that whole offense needed a full retooling, and the defense is already pretty good.
Expect Frank Gore to be more of what he was in Indy than what he was when he flashed last year.
I expect he'll finish with between 500 and 600 yards and probably 4 to 5 touchdowns.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna piggyback to Mark Ingram right now. Ranked per fantasy pros. So right now it's hard to find redraft.
It's
redraft
real
ADP.
early.
He's ranked 71st overall, 27th running back. That's round 6.
Yeah, he's going to go way higher than that.
Because I think he'll end up landing as a 3rd or 4th round pick. It just there's people who aren't high on this move. It just depends what the offense looks like post draft, training camp. I don't think he's a 2nd round pick. I think you can say 3rd round pick, but there's still a lot of value in that.
If I was a Mark Ingram owner in Dynasty, I was clicking my heels and skipping when this move was announced. This was awesome.
Especially if you're a championship team, because great deal. If you're a team trying to rebuild, you have a good sell piece right now.
Yep.
All right. Adrian Peterson, Washington on a 2-year deal.
Why?
Hopefully he's just there to back up guys.
Depth for guys.
I know it's depth.
Because they don't believe in Pirine for whatever reason. I think Pirine outperforms him and wins the backup job.
0% chance
I
that
am
happens.
standing on that train.
I hope that, because I don't believe Pirine will take over Darius Geis. So that's where I stand on that.
Samaje Pirine, truther for life.
I know.
Peyton Barber re-signed to a 1-year, $2.1 million deal. He was a restricted free agent.
They didn't bring anybody in, so they don't draft anybody.
There's still a lot of guys who have not been signed, so look for this to change, either in free agency or the draft, but he is not going to be the starter there.
I hope not. I sincerely hope not.
I think it's a running back by committee. I think he'll be competing for the starting job when preseason comes.
He would have gotten at least $4 million if they've planned him to be the starter.
Mike Davis, Chicago, 2 years, $6 million. Amid the news that they're trying to trade Jordan Howard.
If Howard stays, this is real bad for everyone involved.
Yep. It is. I gotta agree with that completely. Mike Davis is a guy that flashed, but if Howard stayed, that gives him no stays. It gives him no value. It cuts into Howard's touches because they'll have to give another guy touches. It cuts into Cohen a little bit. Not
Mike Davis is a
as
pass
much,
catcher
but
too.
Mike Davis can be a pass catcher. It could be a depth piece. This is a very, very much wait and see what else happens because I don't think this is the end of the moving that goes on here.
I agree.
Latavius Murray, New Orleans, 4-year, $14.4 million.
Love this move.
I
for
will
them.
be targeting him in all of my leagues unless something else happens to shake up this backfield situation.
I am right there with you. I think that he takes this is good for Kamara first off because
Yes,
we
it
mentioned
is.
that Ingram is a good pass catcher. That is something that has not ever been part of Latavius Murray's game.
But he can do it, but he's not going to be asked to do
He
it.
can do it, but he should not be asked to do it. This
Yeah.
is a guy that's a pure between the tackles runner, that's a pure goal line back. But Ingram was also used in that role in New Orleans. Latavius Murray has value.
Yep. He's a good pass blocker, so he will be on some third downs. He has 0 career receiving touchdowns.
Yep.
I expect that to change this year.
Probably will change this year, but I don't expect him to see a ton of work as a receiving back. And overall, he's going to be a great late-round target. You can probably get him probably right now, probably around 10. The hype may build up, and he may be pushing around 7 or 8
I was
by
going
the
to say
time drafts
7 or
come.
8 probably when August hits.
Yeah, because people will be like...
Experts love this move, so
Yeah, so you may start seeing a bunch of people pounding the table and driving his price
he'll
up.
be probably a sleeper on some people's
He's going to be a guy that I think catches a lot of hype
Yeah,
before
so
the season starts.
It depends
So-
where the hype takes him.
so in June, July, he's going to be on everyone's sleepers list, and by the time August hits, he won't be a sleeper anymore.
You think?
Dynasty
do you
trade
think-
target?
Oh yeah. If you can get him for cheap right now, I love it.
Do you think he sniffs like round 6, where like Mark Ingram runs a couple years ago?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you think he'll? Do you draft him in round 6?
I probably would. Given the depth of running back being so top loaded, yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
I would need to take a look at some names,
It's
but
a wait to be seen who
that's-
else is there, but I think that's where he ends up capping up. Is it right around
I'm
6?
hoping I don't have to spend that much for him. I'm hoping I
Same
can
here.
get him closer to 7 or 8. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Zach Zinner back to Detroit.
Interesting.
It's interesting in the sense that I think that they wanted Le'Veon Bell, or not Le'Veon Bell.
Ingram.
LeGarrette Blount.
Kerryon Johnson, Blunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
They wanted LeGarrette Blount to play a specific role here that did not pan out. And when Zach Zinner was re-signed midway through the season, he played that role and it panned out relatively well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Zenner's interesting as long as they don't sign anyone else, but with some of the rumors that's been swirling this team, I would not be surprised if somebody else lands
They
here
may
either in the
sniff
draft.
something there through the draft because Kerryon Johnson, as we've stated, is not a model of health here.
Yeah, I'm not going to be shocked if they add somebody and that drives Carry-On's price down into probably the 4th-ish round.
Then you get Daryl, Bevel, who's been known to be a grinder in terms of running plays. So there could be some value to him, especially if Johnson gets hurt.
Yep. I agree. Kinjan Barner to the Falcons.
Special
Don't care.
teams.
Special teams. Bad news for Brian Hill. Let's
No, not
Not
the
Brian
Wyoming
Hill.
running back, Brian Hill.
beer review.
Beer review.
What do you guys think?
This is a tasty beverage.
This is different because since I'm hosting now, Dan gets to take the first shot at beer
Oh.
reviews and not me, which is completely opposite of how we normally
I'm
do.
gonna let Nick kick this one off because this is his last show, and he typically doesn't have to do because he always kicks it to Hopper and then me, and then he.
It's an excellent bourbon barrel stout. Just a pretty mild bourbon flavor on the back end. Really smooth. You can taste the alcohol, but it's not 12% strong, so it does a decent job of hiding just how powerful it is. I can definitely feel that it's 12% now because I'm almost done with the bottle. Overall, it's an excellent beer. I think I actually like this release more than I like the 2018 release, which I was less impressed with.
I think it's more flavor packed than the 2018 release. I agree with that. I definitely think the dark chocolate jumps out a lot more than it did in 2018.
Yep.
You get a hint of the coffee there. The barrel age, it's very, very subtle back there at the end of it and really drives up the alcohol content more than it plays into the flavor, in my opinion. I think this is a much, much more flavorful release.
The dark chocolate lingers throughout, even after. It's a good aftertaste, especially if you like dark chocolate like I do.
Yeah, it's
the coffee is very
it's just
subtle.
bitter chocolate almost the entire way through, which
It's
is just some bourbon on the back end.
It's a very solid bourbon barrel. Like if you were to tell me this was an imperial style too, this would be, because I don't think it tastes as much as all as a bourbon in terms of
I get
high alcohol.
I get a little bourbon, but you might be able to convince me if I was drunk enough that it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, let's get into the wide receiver portion of this. Going to start out with a ton of slot receivers. So starting out, Danny Amendola with Detroit, 1 year, $4.5 million.
They don't add anybody. I'm kind of interested.
I don't know.
It's a Golden Tate role. The problem with Danny Amendola is you kind of know he's not going to stay healthy, even though you know Stafford likes this role.
I think it's more of the T.J. Jones role.
You think?
Who
Because
took over for Golden Tate after he left?
Yeah,
and wasn't
but
relevant.
how did that? Yeah, exactly. That last part. How did that pan out?
Exactly. So this is going to be a team that's going to be more balanced, probably leaning towards running, just given their new coaching staff. You have Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones. I think Amendola just plays a third piece role, maybe has 1 or 2 relevant games, and that's about it.
I think he's going to do a little bit more than that. I think you'll probably see, assuming he plays all 16 games, which is probably a dangerous assumption. I think he probably sees in the 80 to 90 target range. Oof, 60, 70 catches. Gives you a decent solid floor. I like him as a late round stash as long as they don't add anybody.
Okay.
No,
I'm not that bold, but
No, I'm not bold. I like him as a late round stash
That's
either
fine.
if they don't ag anybody because I think he does play over T.J. Jones.
yeah, I agree with that. I'm just saying his role in the offense in terms of how many targets. I don't think he'll step 80 to 90 targets.
If he plays all 16 games, I'm comfortable projecting him 5+ targets a game.
Yep.
Because that's what 80 is.
Yeah, I'm with that. Jamison Crowder, Jets, 3 years, $28.5 million. This one's a little confusing to me.
It really hurts Enunwa a lot.
It does, because Enunwa is not a guy that is built to play outside.
No, he's big, but he's better as a slot player. He's 6'4", but he was just a really good slot player. He was bad when he was outside.
So they re-signed Enunwa, correct?
Before this,
And they put a tender. Is it a second round tender on Robbie Anderson?
Robbie Anderson,
Excuse me.
You call him Marty Anderson?
he did.
Yeah, I think it was.
Well, I said Rodney by accident, but I think it came out as.
I heard Marty.
I know. Speech impediment, folks. It's great.
I did hear Marty. I believe it was a second round tender, yes.
So yeah,
So what do they do with Nua? So do they push him outside, or are you going to have Crowder play outside?
so last year I did check the stats on this. Crowder or Enunwa played about 38% of the snaps out of the slot, about 62 outside. It's probably going to move to about 90% outside here in this current year. Crowder will be my favorite receiver of the 3 in the offense.
Okay.
I like Anderson a little bit more, but yes.
I think Crowder's inherently my favorite wide receiver in this offense. Enunwa moving outside kills his value. I think that if Darnold takes the steps that we've seen some other quarterbacks take in year 2, that you'll get some good games out of Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder both. You also have Chris Herndon there, and I don't think he has the levels to support everybody yet. But Jamison Crowder is kind of the safety net, good route runner guy that can pick up some yak that I think that is going to help Darnold grow.
So if you guys want to get the full hype train going on Darnold, just go take a look at what he did the last, I believe it was 4 weeks of the
He had
season.
the highest QBR, I think, the end of the year.
For weeks, I believe it was 13 through 16.
Yeah, I think I heard that from Nate Liss.
He was awesome to end the season. So if that's what we could project out for next year, I'm guessing he probably doesn't do quite that well. But if we project that out, he looks awesome. I think Darnold and Mayfield both look like they're poised to be really, really good.
You also have Le'Veon Bell, who can take a lot of the underneath stuff from there too. So it's why I like Robbie Anderson a little bit more, because they're still going to take chances with him down the field. As with Crowder, he could lose some of that short, underneath work to a guy like Herndon and to Le'Veon Bell.
I mean, I think Crowder probably hurts Herndon more than the other way around.
Good. But I still like Crowder, so don't get me wrong about that.
Yep. All right. Enough about Jamison Crowder. Adam Humphries, Tennessee, 4 years, $36 billion.
Tajay Sharp? Not Sharp.
Taylor Taylor.
Taywan Taylor. Dead?
It sounds like they're moving Taylor outside.
Taylor's outside. Tajay Sharp is dead. Adam Humphries plays the Rashard Matthews role, which we know has value.
Yep. I actually don't mind this, but he probably will not hit the heights that he hit last year.
I like a Tannehill to Adam Humphries.
If Tannehill starts, I like Humphries in the Landry role.
Yeah.
I like Humphries about where I've always liked Humphries, although I think he's going to get a little bit more hype this year. But I've always
He was on waivers last year, so I expect he
Right.
gets drafted this
I
year.
think he does too. I've always liked Adam Humphries is a wide receiver 4 or 5 that you can spot start. Although this year you may be able to get away with starting him as a 3 in most weeks. Just depends.
I just want to see how the offense moves the first few weeks of the year because I do not expect them to be what Tampa Bay was in terms of scoring touchdowns.
I think the bigger question is does
And who starts for QB if there is a QB controversy.
and what does Corey Davis do?
That too.
Does Corey Davis take the next step? Does he regress? How does that work
And
out?
Jonnu Smith and
Walker.
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 Depending on what that is, a running back situation. You
Mhm.
still have Taywan Taylor, who was the 3rd-round pick in 2017, who showed some flashes last year.
Cole Beasley, Buffalo, 4-year, 25.
You skipped Tate.
Well,
Who cares?
who cares?
I'm kidding.
Not true though.
I know.
Golden Tate, Giants, 3 years, $37.5 million.
Got
Hate
fucking paid.
Everything about this.
It makes no sense. Whatever.
So here's my prediction that shakes out of this. They're moving Shepard outside, which I hate. They're moving Ingram outside, which I kind of like. And then Tate's going to operate out of the slot, and they're going to bring a blocking tight end in, probably Red Ellison.
You don't think they're to draft the receiver to play outside with
Not
Shepard
right
and
now.
then
They have enough
keep
other things they
Daves?
need to do.
No, not what we think they should do. What do you think the Giants will actually do? Because
Well, they got two. They
nowadays.
got 2 first-round picks, so they'll probably do the dumb thing, and they'll probably take 2 receivers.
They're gonna drive DK Metcalf.
Metcalf, Butler, and double stack it.
Sounds kind of fun though. They didn't have Eli Manning.
DK Metcalf never sounds fun. Sorry, had to get that in there.
I know.
All right. I also hate, just to throw my shit on this pile, I also hate this move. They had Sterling Shepard, who was fine out of the slot. Why did you go out and spend money on a 30-plus-year-old slot receiver on a team that needs to rebuild? I get it that Golden Tate is a quality receiver, but the fit here is just god-awful.
Yeah, if they'd gone out and spent this much money on Tyrell Williams, I'd be like, okay, that's weird, but at least he's an outside guy. But instead they go and they drop all the money down on a slot guy when they had that position set and ready to go.
When they
I
had
don't
2
get it.
guys who can fill the over-the-middle role in Shepard and Ingram.
So I guess they're just going to run nobody outside.
They're gonna put Saquon outside. Fuck it at this point.
All right.
No one knows what they're doing.
Enough about this. I'm pissed at the Giants.
All right, we'll move on to Cole Beasley and John Brown. Buffalo both signed him. Cole Beasley got a 4-year deal, $29 million. John Brown got a 3-year deal, $27 million. What do you think about these deals?
Beasley got paid, so he's going to get a bunch of studio time, but I'm not real stoked about the fit. John Brown, on the other hand, I love.
John Brown loved the fit. Does it hurt Robert Foster? Who are the 3 receivers you think are going to be out there day one?
I think it's going to be Brown, Jones, Beasley.
Brown, Beasley, Foster.
I agree with Nick and Brown, Jones, and
I do too. I'm trying to will the
Beasley.
other thing into
I know
existence.
people want Robert Foster to be a thing. It's a good story because we love seeing undrafted free agents make it. But John Brown is the upgraded version of Robert Foster if he stays healthy at this point. Now, if he doesn't, a different story.
I mean, as fun as it would be to have 2 vertical threats, it's really not ideal for an
It's
offense.
not. Yeah, it's not. Well, it is a Josh
it is Josh Allen
offense.
offense who can't throw accurately within the
And-
first 20 yards.
Fuck it, I'm going deep is okay for Josh Allen.
All right.
So, Cole Beasley though, I guess it kind of makes sense. Anyway, Devin Funchess, Indy, 1 year, $13 million.
I kind of like this. It's a lot of money, but
It's
I
a
like
1-year
it.
deal, so if it doesn't work out, you move on. They have a lot of, they're the most cap. They haven't done a whole lot.
This is
outside
basically
of
one of their
this.
only signings.
So it's just interesting to see what they do here.
But yeah, I like him as an outside weapon that can catch touchdowns. It's going to help Luck. I still expect they address their other outside receiver in the draft, though, because I don't think it's going to be Kane or Rodgers.
Nope, I agree with that also. I think that they do need to address their other outside receiver. Funchess falls into a less fast Moncrief role, basically to be a red zone threat.
Yep.
What does this do, though, given another big receiver, to Eric Ebron?
Slight hurt. He probably. I mean, he's not going to see 16 touchdowns next year, so he probably drops down to the 8 to 10 range, is what I thought. And this is a signing that fits that narrative.
Do you still draft Ebron in redraft leagues?
Depends on where he
'Cause
goes.
He's a very okay.
I mean, if I can get him as a back end one, I'm still going to take him.
8 to 10 rounds, you said, right, Nick?
8 to 10 touchdowns. He thinks. What
Oh,
round?
8 to
you
10
think?
touchdowns for rounds. I'm looking 10 to 12.
Okay.
But he probably goes higher than that, so I probably own him significantly less than I did this last year.
And that's your take from the local Ebron truther. He's nodding for those that can't see him behind the monitor.
Check us out on YouTube, Beer Fueled Fantasy. Hit the subscribe button.
Things I really don't care about, but I just put in here so I could celebrate. Josh Bellamy is now going to be dropping touchdowns for the New York Jets.
Don't care.
Well, he's going to be the wide receiver 4 or 5, so probably not that many
He
chances
was.
4,
to drop
5,
him.
6, 7, 8, 9.
He was
at
for
this
the
point.
Bears too every year somehow, and guess what?
He got onto the field too.
Yep, mattered. He's a good special teams player, though. I'll give him that. Devontae Parker did what none of us thought we were going to see, and re-signed with Miami for 2 years and $13 million.
Why?
This is the Miami head scratcher deal of the year. I don't mind Fitzpatrick throwing him the ball, though.
I don't mind Fitzpatrick throwing him the ball either, honestly. I think that this is going to be the best chance Devontae Parker's had to do anything, but, we've seen Kenny Stills be productive. We've seen Jarvis Landry be productive. So you got to answer, why has Devontae Parker not been productive? And I think the answer is Devontae Parker.
It most likely is Devontae Parker. I'm hoping a new coaching system and a new quarterback helps. But if you were the Devontae Parker owner, you are not hoping for
I'm
this
trying to
landing spot.
trade him. If I don't own him anywhere because I don't believe in him at all. I'm not going to own him in any redraft leagues. So
I've only got him in one
use
spot
this
left.
hype, whatever hype is built with the Fitzpatrick signing, to move him. People still believe in Kenny Stills as a wide receiver one in the top. It's anyways.
Yeah, the league I have him to, he's my wide receiver 6 or so. So
you're fine.
if I move him, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
All right. Brashad Perriman, Tampa Bay, a 1 year, $1 million deal.
I thought it was $4 million.
He signed with the Browns for $4 million.
I thought he ended up getting the same deal from the Bucks. Maybe it was $1 million.
It might have been. I could have mistyped it. Either way,
I'll
we'll
look
just
it
call it. Who cares about the money? Money doesn't play into fantasy football.
He's gonna be the vertical threat.
Deshaun Jackson.
He'll be Deshaun Jackson light.
He'll play 6 games.
And Winston sucks at hitting Deshaun Jackson, so I bet he's probably even worse at hitting Perriman.
It was a 4-year million. It was a $4 million.
Okay, I just
deal.
mistyped it then.
That's fine.
Cordero Patterson, Chicago, 2 years, $10 million.
That's a lot of money for a returner.
And Marvin Hall, Chicago, undisclosed. Speaking of returners.
Speaking of 3 gadget players.
Yeah, so now they have, and I said this in the chat, they have Gabriel, Patterson, and Hall. They've got 3 of some of the fastest receivers in the league
And you
right
still
now.
have Tyreek Hill, who can essentially do the same things.
Yeah, it's way too much money in the roster spots for speed guys who can't do much else.
No.
I don't know.
And I don't know why you need Patterson when you have Cohen.
That's what I just said.
I don't know why.
Right?
They have a lot of gadget players they can spread out. We know Nagy likes gadget guys. Patterson I like because he's shown the ability to be a bit shiftier, whereas Gabriel and Hall have not necessarily shown that. They've been more speed guys. So I like Patterson the most out of anybody to really come in and have some relevance and be used in a way that I think is somewhat viable. But yeah, I would have liked to see them have a little bit more dynamic to their depth, which granted Javon Williams last year, he's a bigger wide receiver that they have for some depth. The thing that they're missing, I think, is a slot type of possession receiver behind Anthony Miller. And you're filling it up with speed guys, but I also know they have a concern for the return game as well.
Yeah, I assume Patterson will be their kick returner. Cohen probably still stays on punts because that's never been Patterson's
No, that's
stick.
never been his thing.
And Cohen's been very good at that.
But if I'm a Cohen owner, between the Davis and the Patterson moves, I'm a little nervous.
Mm-hmm. All right. Tyrell Williams, Oakland, 4 years, $44 million. J.J. Nelson also went to Oakland.
I kind of like these moves.
I don't care about J.J. Nelson.
He's going to be the 3.
I
He's okay,
Right now, it's Derek Carr trying to support.
but he's going to run.
Anybody besides Brown.
He'll run out of the slot. You have Tyrell Williams and Brown outside. That's a solid trio.
Remember what we said about having 2 speed guys, though.
Brown's going to command a shit ton of targets.
He
in this
will.
Offense. I don't expect both Williams. I think Williams will have okay games every now and then. J.J. Nelson, I don't care about.
I mean, Williams will be a lower ranked 2, and Nelson will be a fringe draftable player.
Yeah. Nelson's going to be a guy we talk about on waivers at some point this year.
Wait, so you said that Tyrell Williams will be a fringe wide receiver too?
He'll be one of the lower ranked twos of all 32 teams.
Okay.
Okay.
So
okay.
he'll be.
I want to
he'll be-
make sure that no, he's
so
not
he'll be
a
around
two
like
in
he'll be like
fantasy.
wide receiver 50 to 60.
Okay,
range.
he'll be
Okay.
a functional wide receiver too, not a fantasy.
He'll
wide
have
receiver
some.
too.
He'll have a couple fantasy relevant games this
Yeah,
year.
he'll be an end of bench guy.
Okay.
Got it. That makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Than
I was like,
just-
damn, Nick, I've been high on Tyrell. I didn't think you jumped on that train. And go
No,
ahead
no.
with me.
Yeah. No context. He'll be a wide receiver too. What?
Yeah.
Dante Moncrief, Pittsburgh, 1 year.
Interesting.
This is about as good a thing that could have happened to Moncrief's value.
Okay. I agree. I think that I don't believe in James Washington. We all know that. I think that this is between the two of them to determine who's going to be opposite of Juju.
Yep.
So I do think there's plenty of opportunity here for Moncrief, and if he can beat out James Washington, I think it's a very, very good fit for him.
Yep, and they also lost Jesse James, so this is another situation where he probably takes over a lot of that red zone work with him and McDonald.
Yeah.
You think they move Washington to the slot and try to
I
not
think they
use and try not to use Ryan Switzer?
I mean, it's either that or they move Juju in the slot.
No, you keep him outside. You have to have him as your alpha one. I know you could. Brown moved outside.
I mean,
was significant.
Washington's comfortable running outside. Moncrief is only going to run outside.
I know.
Why not match up your best? Do like the Vikings do with Thielen and run your best receiver in the slot.
because Diggs is their best receiver.
But they even when Diggs
I
is
know.
hurt, they do Thielen inside.
I know. But I still think they keep Juju outside though. I think you can move Washington, who's a bit undersized, to the slot role and try to do a vertical slot type of offense.
I agree with that. Philip Dorsett, New England, 1 year undisclosed. Bruce Ellington, New England, also.
Ellington, I'm a little interested in. Dorsett, we saw what he is. He's not worth much.
Okay. I can agree with both. Ellington, I just had to catch my microphone. Ellington, we've seen flash a little bit when he's been healthy. He's often injured. Forsyth's never broken anything.
He apparently got part of his hamstring removed this offseason, too.
Yikes. Oof. It's a soft tissue issue.
Yeah, well, that was the hamstring he kept re-injuring. They removed the muscle he kept injuring.
How the fuck does that work?
You can remove certain muscles and then use other muscles to compensate for it.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Jordan Matthews, San Francisco on a 1 year deal.
He's going to be behind.
Truthers are out.
He's going to be behind Pettis, I think.
I think he's behind Pettis also.
Is he behind
And-
Goodwin?
Goodwin, I think Pettis takes the slot spot, is what I'm saying.
Is Garcon still there?
No, Garcon's gone.
So he's ahead of Trent Taylor in the slot role.
Is he?
Because Pettis is going to...
The Pettis is number one likely in this offense.
He is, and probably... I would assume him and Goodwin are going to be outside since they just signed a slot receiver and they have Trent Taylor also.
Yeah, and Jordan Matthews is
Is
better.
I mean, you
slot
could be right.
receiver
I think your
sense.
best deployment is you put Pettis and Goodwin on either side. But again, the combination of Pettis and Goodwin hasn't ever made a lot of sense to me because both have the ability to stretch the field. Although we've seen Pettis do more than just that.
Yeah, Pettis is a better
Flash
route runner.
Hughes last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't think Matthews has much value right now in Dynasty.
Not in Dynasty. Redraft, he could be something if something.
Even there,
Could
he's going to be
because they could still draft the number one receiver.
he's going to be the number 4 mouth.
and it kills everything.
Mm-hmm. All right. So speaking of people with no value, Tavon Austin, Dallas, 1 year.
Don't care.
Kevin White, Arizona, 1 year.
That's kind of interesting, but we'll see.
Gives him a former first-round pick as they look for somebody to play opposite Fitz.
He's got to beat out Chad Williams for
Well-
the number 3 role.
Well, he'll be outside with Kirk.
What about Fitz?
Fitz will be in the slot.
Fitz will be in.
So he'll have to beat out Chad Williams
Yeah.
for the second.
For the second.
That's correct.
outside
I was
spot.
saying he's not going to
Yeah.
be playing opposite Fitz, though. He'll be opposite Kirk.
Well, semantics.
Either way, not relevant.
Chris Conley, Jacksonville.
He is your Dante
What?
Moncrief replacement.
Why? Why? You drafted Chark. You have. This hurts. This hurts everything.
It hurts my heart more than anything. I don't know why. I don't like Chris Conley, but I think that this is not a great fit. That's all I've got on the wide receivers. Anybody else you'd like to comment on?
Nope.
Okay. Tight ends. This should be fast.
Who the fuck is this guy?
Ben Brunacher, Chicago, re-signed 2 year undisclosed, more of a blocking tight
Yep.
end.
Okay.
Blocker.
Who cares? Jesse James, Detroit, 4 years, $25 million.
Stafford
Sadly,
doesn't use tight ends.
Who cares?
Okay. Tyler Eifert re-signed 1 year at the Bengals. CJ Uzama back behind him for 3 years.
Eifert's going to be awesome for 2 games.
Uzama starts over Eifert. Hot take.
They probably both have value. Speaking of Bengals tight ends, Tyler Kroft, Buffalo, 3 years, $18.7 million.
If they don't draft anybody, this could be something.
Yep.
Does he flash a little bit?
They also got rid of Logan Thomas in addition to Clay, so Kroft is the little kind of only guy left.
If they don't draft anybody else, or at least anybody of relevance.
I can agree with that. Demetrius Harris, Cleveland, 2 year. Everybody said he was going to be the next, whatever that Bears tight end's name is, who I've tried to forget
Burton.
about. Yeah, Trey Burton. Real athletic guy that had flashed a little bit and then goes and lands himself.
He's going to be operating the
big
exact
deal.
same role he was in Kansas City, where he's primarily a blocker and a secondary receiving tight end.
I can agree with that.
Yep. Have fun backing up Njoku.
Yep. Matt Lacoste, Denver's big guy.
I am actually kind of intrigued.
Lands in New England.
I still think they draft
I
a
am
tight end.
Super intrigued.
They may still draft a tight end, but if they don't,
And Gronk retires?
this could be your starting tight end week
Interesting.
1.
But I think if New England drafts a tight end day 1, day 2, that could point to Gronk retiring. Them knowing that Gronk is
I
not
think
coming back.
we get a decision on that before the draft.
We all hope.
Mm-hmm. I think you do get a decision on that before the draft, though.
Oh, Jeff Swaim.
Jeff Swaim, Jacksonville,
Of the places he could have landed, this is probably about as good as you could hope for.
blocker.
Yep.
Logan Paulson, Atlanta.
Don't care.
Don't care.
Jeff Hireman, Denver.
You get re-signed?
It's going to be him or
Butt.
it'll be him or Butt as the one, and
but-
Flacco uses tight ends.
Hey, remember when everybody thought Troy Fumagalli was going to be good?
You mean Nine Fingers?
So not us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not us. Was exactly what I was getting at there.
Just
yeah,
run through the rest here real quick.
That's it. I'm going to run through the rest here really, really quick. Some offensive linemen that matter just to keep note on. Trent Brown, former Patriots left tackle, is now in Oakland, 4 years, $66 million.
Are they going to move him
overpaid.
to the right tackle? Because they have a pretty good left tackle right
I
now.
don't-
Other way. They're going to move, I think it was Colton Miller they took,
Yeah.
over to right tackle.
He was horrible last year, so
With-
they need to.
Trent Brown at left tackle. Mitch Morse, formerly of Kansas City, now center guard for Buffalo. They also went out and got Spencer Long and Ladarian Waddle to improve that line, which is very good news
I
for the running
approve
game.
of all of this. They needed to desperately refill the cupboard at offensive line.
Yep. Arizona and Seattle essentially swapped underperforming guards in J.R. Sweezy and Mike Upati. Sweezy to Arizona, Upati to Seattle.
Probably better for Seattle.
I think it is too. DJ Fluker, he re-signed in Seattle on a 2-year deal.
You also missed Saffold.
The best.
Roger
Offensive
Saffield,
lineman.
10-year. Yeah, he went to Tennessee on a 4-year, $44 million deal.
That's a
which
big contract for a 31-year-old.
As much as I hate to say it, that should also help Henry.
It will help Henry a lot because you just improve the running.
it helps me
Protection.
not to draft him more because he'll be overhyped again.
You will be, but I think
It does help him.
it does help him. All right. Defense. Hopefully this goes quick. Dante Fowler, Rams, re-signed 1 year, $14 million as an edge rusher. He
Like
gave,
it.
gave them a little bit of pass rush, so I think
Yep.
this is the right move.
Yep.
Malik Jackson, who was Philly defensive lineman, 3 year, $30 million.
I don't even know why they needed him.
Okay, I got to Bennett, I guess.
But Jackson's a
Rotational
defensive
piece.
tackle.
Right. Well, Bennett played both from time to time.
Yeah, he
so-
moved all over the place, but Jackson's been historically just a straight defensive tackle.
Yep. So whatever. They went out and got him. Landon Collins, Washington, 6 year, $84
Jesus
million.
Christ.
Speaking of teams, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah. Welcome to the running carousel of safeties. There's a lot of safety movement here. So he was their HaHa Clinton Dix replacement for the most part, even though he's a box safety and Clinton Dix is a left field guy.
Clinton Dix played a lot of box.
Clinton Dix also is terrible, but that's fine.
We'll get to him in a moment.
Clinton Dix is miscast in the box.
yes.
He should not have been playing the box.
No.
So he is the replacement. He's just more fitting to be that replacement.
Yes.
Kwan Alexander, San Francisco.
Way too much.
4 year,
Overpaid for a guy who missed his tackles.
Yep. 4 year, $54 million. Probably more of a pass rush piece than anything.
Needs to be.
Jason Ferret can now sit on IR for San Francisco. They signed him 1 year, $3.6 million.
Yep, he just moved up the coast to go sit in IR. He'll be awesome in training camp until he gets hurt again.
Yes, if you can stay healthy, that's good. But it doesn't.
I don't
happen.
think you will.
He probably won't.
Trey Flowers, Detroit, 5 years, 16 to 17 million per year.
I think the final number I saw was actually 18.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah, he's reunited with Matt Patricia.
I actually don't hate this. They desperately needed pass rush.
They did. Terrell Suggs and Jordan Hicks, both to Arizona, both linebackers.
Suggs goes back home. He wanted to play for Arizona, didn't want to play for Baltimore anymore.
Yep. I think it was only a 1-year deal, so I like both.
Okay. Tyrann Mathieu, Kansas City. There's an Eric Berry replacement, 3 year, $42 million.
Very solid play.
Yep.
I like this a lot.
Essentially the same player.
Yep, I do like this a lot also. Same player, but you got him a little bit cheaper and
Yep.
he's younger.
And they only paid 3 years instead of 6 like they paid like Collins got paid.
Yep.
Sheldon Richardson, 3 years, $36 million, now in Cleveland.
Their defensive line is going to be really, really good.
Very, very good.
Yep. CJ Mosley, New York Jets.
Overpaid.
Yeah, he
But it
should have been
hurts.
paid about $10 million less than he got.
He wanted to stay in Baltimore, but the Jets overpaid for him.
LaMarcus Joyner goes from the Rams to Oakland.
This is okay. About
Yeah.
$10 million a year for probably a top 10-ish safety.
But it's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but I mean, it does help Oakland. They needed all the help on defense they could get.
Yep.
Adrian Amos goes from Chicago to Green Bay, 4 years, $37 million. I love, and this pains me. I'll go ahead and tell you the other two signings. Zadarius Smith, also to Green Bay, a linebacker, 4 years, $66. Preston
move.
Smith, 4 years, $52 million, also to Green Bay. I think they did a lot to improve their pass rush, and Adrian Amos is a guy who can play both coverage and in the box. Is a Bears fan. He was a very, very solid and unheralded player on that team.
It's tough though to push $150 million into your defense in just one.
It hurts to
offseason.
lose Darius Smith, but again, like a lot of these defensive players, overpaid. But Green Bay attacked their weakness.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the thing with Green Bay is they realize that they don't have the weapons to win in shootouts right now. So I think that that's why they decided to go attack the defense, is that they got a lot of wide receivers that have some talent but need some development, that they're not going to be able to score 40 to 50 points. So let's go put some money into the defense and maybe have to win somewhere in the 20s instead of putting up 30 points a game.
No, it's the right move. It was just a lot of money to invest because if
We'll see if
even
this pays out. We'll
if
see.
even one of these guys doesn't hit, it's going to be painful.
Agreed. Thomas Davis goes to the Chargers, ring chasing.
And they also needed a outside linebacker to play for him. So
I like this move. I
He's-
like Tony Davis.
He's still solid. It fits for both of them.
Yep.
Deshaun Gibson, Houston.
well, they got 3 in a row here. Roby
He's-
and Calhoun as well.
Roby and Body Calhoun also. They revamped their secondary.
They
I
desperately
like the
needed
moves.
to do it.
Gibson's not a coverage safety, but he will fucking hit you.
He is a very, very good run stuffing safety though.
Yep.
Bradley Roby comes out of Denver where he was a solid cornerback, not quarterback. Same thing with Body Calhoun going to Houston. They've done some good things for their secondary, which, as
Yeah.
Nick said, they desperately needed. Though.
Yeah, and Body Calhoun coming in as a slot corner for $900,000. He was worth more than that. That was a great contract.
Yeah, it was.
He was indeed worth more than that.
Hopefully, Roby can actually, play better outside than he did for Denver his last year.
I agree with that completely. Anthony Barr goes to the Jets and then comes back and gets sick to his stomach and ends up back in Minnesota.
Yeah, his one-day nightmare was over. He's back in Minnesota.
He is back in Minnesota. It was just a bad dream.
I have mixed feeling. I would have rather kept Richardson, but I still like Barr because they know how to.
I mean, Barr's also a hell of
He does a lot
younger.
more than what the stats say.
And
so
this is a really, really good defensive tackle draft. I would not be shocked to see the Vikings take one in the top 3 rounds.
they will take one in the first round.
First round, I hope not.
The first round offensive tackle, that would be a little wild.
No, defensive tackle.
Oh, defensive.
I-
well,
It's Mike Zimmer drafting, or it's Mike Zimmer whispering the ear of Rick Spielman. They're
that's
not
what,
going offensive line first round.
that's what I meant, by the way, was
Yeah.
you get it. Forgot where I was. Antoine Bethea, New York Giants. Marcus Golden, New York Giants.
They're trying to get cheaper on defense. They're just doing plugs at this point.
Yep.
I don't love either one.
I think that I just lost my train of thought. Marcus Golden's interesting. He was very, very good for Arizona. Then he went and got hurt. So I think that bringing him in at least is a somewhat interesting go. If he can even regain a little bit of the form that he had beforehand.
Yeah.
So it's just going to depend on what can he bounce back and actually be. Cameron Wake, Tennessee, 3 years, $23 million, because they're cornering the market on old defensemen.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to pay for an older defensive line player, but he's still a solid pass rusher, and he's going to be their number 2 behind Landry.
Mm-hmm. Earl Thomas goes to Baltimore, 4 years, $55 million.
Hey, somebody's got to play the Ed Reed role.
If he stays healthy, love this move.
It's a great pickup by them.
Yep.
Ha, Clinton Dix, Chicago.
Not as good as Amos, but for a 1-year deal, it's not a bad decision.
To prove it.
It's a 1-year deal. They needed a safety, and it gives them ball hawks, I think, is a bigger thing. Ha, Clinton Dix is more of a ball hawk. Eddie Jackson's a ball hawk. Kyle Fuller's a good coverage guy. That secondary is going to create some turnovers. Now, what you lose is a little bit of the coverage value that you got out of Amos.
So
and the
chance for some big
tackling
plays.
ability. So he's going to give up some big plays, but he's also going to give you 4 to 5 picks, most likely, on a team that was very, very good at creating picks last year. KJ Wright stays in Seattle, 2 years, $15 million.
I thought it was $15 million per year.
It could have been. Again, just off of Roto World, it's
That makes
whatever they
sense.
reported it as.
Because I would say there's no way you get a top 5 linebacker for
I'm
7.5
pretty sure
per.
vet that, Dan, because I'm pretty sure he took a discount to stay in Seattle.
All right. Go ahead. Keep talking. We'll look at it.
Because the expectation was that he wasn't going to stay there.
Because he was a guy who should have gotten pretty similar to Mosley money.
No, 2 years, 50 mil.
15?
Yep. 2 years, 15 mil, 7.7.5.
Oh,
Jeez,
I did write it down right.
that is a hell of a steal by Seattle because he's worth way more than that.
I agree. He's worth more than that in the open market.
But
They
again-
wanted to stay. They needed him to stay, and they made it work.
Yep.
Bryce Callahan, former Bears slot corner, who is also very good but has had some injury issues, goes to Denver, takes over in the Bradley Roby role, 3 years, $21 million.
Yep.
They paid full price.
Yeah, I don't love this, but they needed a corner.
He's back with Vic Fangio also, which gave him his
That should help.
best season last year. Shaq Barrett goes to Tampa Bay on a 1-year, $5 million prove-it deal. He was pretty much blocked out in Denver, even though he had been a pretty good rotational piece. So gives them a little bit of a pass rush and not a huge commitment.
And way cheaper than Alexander.
Yes,
A lot cheaper.
a lot cheaper. And then 3 kickers. Will Lutz back with the Saints on a 5-year deal.
He'll be a top 5 kicker going out.
Cairo
Yep.
Santos back in Tampa Bay after he was relatively reliable for them.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason Myers is in Seattle for 4 years, which means Janikowski's out.
Another
And-
top 5 kicker.
And Myers will
potentially.
be overdrafted.
Yep. Yeah, if he should be.
You think he'll be a...
I think
We're done. We're at a point
we're
where we're
done.
talking about kickers
Yes,
being
we
overdrafted.
spoke too many
This
words.
show has gone too far. Thank you for tuning in. A little bit of a longer episode as there's a lot to cover. Next week, we start our draft coverage. Dan and I will be bringing you whoever we like for quarterback this year. So we'll go ahead and break down the quarterback draft class for you. This concludes season 2. That will officially start season 3 as we go through the next few weeks, giving you everything you need to
Help
know
you draft properly in your rookie
drafts. Well, more on
Hopefully
that
you
after the
draft
draft
properly.
because hashtag
We don't know
landing spot-
shit right now. Yeah. Hashtag landing spot matters.
Hashtag landing spot matters, but it gives you a reason to be excited on draft day.
Yep.
More so than anything. Nick, as we mentioned, will not be joining us. This is his last regular episode as a member of the Beerfield crew. Nick, any
Send us
parting
off.
words? Send us off.
2 seasons is great. It was a great show running this for 220-ish episodes, but I know I'm handing it off into capable hands. You guys will rock it in season 3.
Send us off, Nick.
And we'll and they'll catch you guys next
Next
time
time.
on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya.
Peace.
Beerfield